Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, it is Poetry Thursday, so I wanted to talk about another interesting poem that has come across my eyesight, my viewing centers. And today's poem is from an author that I've talked about before, and it was also recommended to me by my friend Bevan, who has been recommending quite some good poetry as of late. I am referring to Misunderstanding by Ha Jin. For those who don't know, and I've talked about Ha Jin on this channel before, so I don't need to go into great detail, but for those who don't know, Ha Jin is a Chinese-American poet and general writer who has been writing since the 1980s. His field of poetry is called Misty Poetry, which I haven't encountered a lot of. I think I've only, like in my searches of poetry, I've really only encountered him. I don't think I've read any other people from that field, which is interesting. He lived in China growing up, and then around the time of the Tiananmen Square incident, he decided to leave China, and his poetry has really reflected that, focusing on his dissident kind of status, sort of missing China, but also not liking what China has become. And writing about some other similar ideas. And I ended up reading one of his other poems for this channel before called All You Have Is a Country, which is a pretty high quality poem. I recommend that you go seek that out if you haven't done so already. And so without further ado, let's talk about Misunderstanding. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. Misunderstanding. So let misunderstanding spread. It only shows how different you are from others. Many things cannot bear explaining. You'd better let silence and labor speak in your defense. You don't need many friends or to be enamored with beautiful women or share the wine of happy gatherings, because you have solitude enough, content to leave this world without a sound. Distant thunder can give you pure joy. Birds in the sky can teach you another kind of wisdom. As your soul is growing new wings, such words will disappear from your dictionary. Boundary, complaint, cowardice, collapse. And so that was Misunderstanding. In terms of analysis, there's a little bit worth talking about. There's not a whole lot to this poem. It's only 3 verses, but it seems more of a mantra that bears repeating than anything else. There's no strict narrative to it. It's just saying, it's okay to let misunderstanding spread, to maybe allow for some confusion. Your words maybe don't matter so much as what you do. Actions speaking louder than words. You don't need that many people to surround you. You should be happy with solitude. I feel like that's the main idea of this poem. In the second verse, he says, you don't need many friends or to be enamored with beautiful women or share the wine of happy gatherings, because you have solitude enough, content to leave this world without a sound. And that's sort of talking about being at peace with yourself and being content to be by yourself, because a lot of people find it difficult to be content by themselves. I think this is one of the reasons Bevan talks about this poem. She's in mental health, and so it's that idea of being happy by yourself, because if you're not happy by yourself, you're certainly not going to be able to have effective relationships with other people. And then also in the last verse, distant thunder can give you pure joy. Birds in the sky can teach you another kind of wisdom. I am constantly being taught new things by birds. And then in the last 2 lines, such words will disappear from your dictionary. Boundary, complaint, cowardice, collapse. Boundary, I think, if you're content with yourself, you're not really setting up too many boundaries. Complaint, I don't really know why. Like, maybe if you're happy with the way the world is, you would have no complaints. But also having complaints is part of a normal part of life. Maybe just having reasonable numbers of complaints is what Hajin is getting at here. Also talking about cowardice, I feel like a large part of this is about self-actualization. So cowardice is kind of a part of that. And then collapse. I don't know. I don't really know what that is really getting at there. Sort of like if you're self-actualized, you're nowhere near collapsing. Maybe like if you're worried about like being misunderstood and your interactions with others, maybe you're close to a collapse. I feel like there's a couple different interpretations that can be made there. But overall, this seems to be a poem about sort of repeating sort of a mindset about a way to view the world, to allow yourself to be misunderstood, to not rely on the opinions of others, to be happy on your own, so that you can experience solitude of the world and maybe discover a few things about yourself. And this will teach you something new. This will provide you with a new skill set that might help you in your future endeavors. And so that was Misunderstanding by Hajin, a pretty solid poem, one that I am happy that my friend Bevan recommended to me. It is a pretty interesting and informative, I would say, poem. Really good kind of way to think about the world, especially being content to be by yourself. Because sometimes I find it hard to be on my own, especially because it's like you're alone with your thoughts. You need the company of others, otherwise you might feel lonely. But sometimes that loneliness, sometimes that solitude can really teach you something, and that's important to get out there. So I definitely recommend this poem to you. Maybe your therapist already recommended the poem to you in some way, especially if they're the kind of people who do bibliotherapy or something like that. It seems like a rare kind of thing in these days, but it does exist. So check out the description below if you want to find the poem. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people can find out about this poem or this poet if they don't already know. Also join the Discord if you want to have further conversations about poetry or books or movies or things of that nature. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and misunderstood travels. Farewell.